creator fund is people are working out what they get per views, and it's not a lot, but TikTok still at this moment doesn't have adverts in they're allowing long content on there. You can have 4, 5, 6 minute episodic content. I think within the next 6 to 12 months you'll start seeing mid-roll adverts, pre-roll adverts. And at that point, if people are aligned with their longer form content, they'll start earning well. I feel like TikTok they've got a plan. And I think they'll be the next. Snapchat, there's the potential to make money, but I think TikTok's the way to go. And
thank you so much for clicking on this episode of The Millennial Entrepreneur. The ambition of the podcast is to show relatable stories from young entrepreneurs doing some incredible things to inspire the next generation, including you listening wherever you are. We've been doing this podcast for over 3 years and the ambition has not changed. The only thing that has changed is the scale of where we want to go. We want to bring on bigger guests for you guys to show more and more relatable and inspiring stories from young entrepreneurs across the world. The majority of you guys listening haven't subscribed to the podcast yet. All you have to do is click that subscribe button wherever you're listening on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and that will allow us to bring on bigger guests and ask the questions to them that you really want to hear. And it really is that simple. So thank you again for clicking on the podcast and enjoy the episode. So what would you have for breakfast this morning?
I had a cereal bar and then a butty on the train.
I'd love to jump into, because this is a world that's so alien to me, like the world of building social media pages and then sort of selling your share within businesses. So like what sort of, like, how did the journey begin for you within this space?
So yeah, I had a normal 9-5 job working within the IT industry, which I'd done kind of from college. I got an apprenticeship, got into IT, and then just on the side, my first daughter was born, and it was 2012, 2013 when Twitter was really on the up. I started to just doing silly parodies, silly tweets, and I was up late one night with my daughter flicking through Sky, and Sky Sports Memories was on, which shows things like football from the 90s, from 95, 96. And within the middle of that, it would always pop up headlines like Alan Shearer breaks transfer record, things like that. And at the time, people called Sky Sports on Twitter, they called it slow sports, because if they tweet something people already knew about, it's like, oh, that's slow sports news. So I set up a page called Slow Sports News, but then tweeting these old headlines, because everything on the internet, all these Sky Sports links, BBC links, everything's cached. So you can get the headlines from back then. And so you tweet something like, David Beckham signs new contract, or Wayne Rooney returns, and people started to believe the tweets, tagging the mates, and that account really kind of took off from there. And the Twitter space was like, it was massive, but you'd find like about 10, 12, 15 people ran all the same accounts.
Yeah.
So within that space, you get to know each other, and you called like trade retweets. So a bigger page would retweet yours, and you'd grow, and the more and more, and then you'd obviously have your standard virality within that space. So you'd grow, and then that's where I met two of my other business partners who were doing the similar thing. They were kind of did it full time. They were working on other projects as well as Twitter, and then we clubbed together and thought, we've got this massive following between us. I think we had like 3 million followers if you combined all our accounts. We put our heads together and said, how can we monetize this more? And you say, yeah, that's where it kind of started from.
So you literally just started it for fun, really?
Yeah, that was literally what it was. Yeah, it was fun. And even within that space, there was a couple of large businesses, your social chains, your Lad Bibles, people like that were already growing hugely, and I had a few offers to work within them spaces for them. And even at the time, I didn't believe it. I had a steady IT job. I was like, oh, social media is not a career. Like, how could I possibly? I had a wife, a mortgage, a child. But then as the months went by, my day job started to get more and more neglected, and I was at the point where working all evening, and
what were you working on? So what did so after your 9-to-5 IT job, like what did your day look like after that?
Well, you say working, it was like you say tweeting,
just constantly tweeting.
Yeah, because especially with things like when there was a Champions League game on, say it was Manchester United versus Liverpool, but you tweet like Michael Owen has just cleaned through, and people are like, Michael Owen don't play for Liverpool, what are you on about? And it was stuff like that. So I always made it relevant to what the match that was on that night. And like January and August for the transfer deadlines was always a mega day, because you trick so many people if you did like really subtle. I think Rooney had like Rooney signs for Everton and things like that, and the original Rooney or Rooney signs for Man United, things like that, and it was trick people, and it was really good fun. But then you started. There was a massive influx of the betting companies then, the affiliate betting, and they would then use pages like ours to reach more and more people by giving you a cut of new signups, and so that was an initial way of funding it.
So you started for fun.
Yeah.
What did it sort of like grow to?
The Slow Sports News was over 100,000 at its peak. I had a number of smaller accounts, and then stumbled on the Deluded Brendan parody, which was the Brendan Rodgers when he was at Liverpool, and that's the one that just exploded.
At what stage would you say? I think I followed that one, to be fair. Yeah. At what stage would you say like you started to realise, okay, this is getting quite big now? Like this could be something bigger than I would have thought.
I think it was the 2014 World Cup was mega. It's just for traffic,
Brazil.
And that's in Brazil, and then 2015 was Brendan Rodgers' year at Liverpool when he was going through all these madness and people call him David Brent and things like that. So I harbored on the back of that, and then I think it was when I was, like I say, I had a young child and a wife, and I'm spending all my weekends tweeting in the evening. It got to a tipping point of I needed to do one or the other. I couldn't carry on doing both, and that's when I spoke to the other business partners who kindly kind of backed me to join them.
Were you making money at this point through the Twitter page?
Yeah. I was making money kind of personally. I was registered as my own business, making a bit, but it was nothing at that point regularly enough to say, I quit and everything. But when we got together as a three, there was enough there to at least give it a go. So I remember when I had the chat with my wife, my father sat him down I want to quit to do this. It was wild, but I think in the head we had like a year a year target that if you're not matching your salary within a year, you're going to go back to working and sign out of all the Twitter accounts and move on. Luckily, I kind of never looked back. So
that's so mad to me. Like, when you say, because you had a young child, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it was you, yourself, your wife, and then your young child, and you were like up at night just doing tweets.
Yeah.
It's like, surely your wife was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
It even got to the point we'd been on a day out. I think it was a Liverpool game, and they'd lost to someone driving home.
Yeah.
And my wife, I dictated the tweet for her to put out. And that was a wild one. So she was tweeting on the parody on my phone as I dictated, and I'm driving.
As you were driving, yeah.
And then we pulled up and I checked in. It had like 2,000-3,000 retweets, and I showed her. And even then, at that point, she's like, "That's madness. I've just typed that 20 minutes ago." I said, that's.
So originally, you were making money through betting company affiliate links.
Yes.
Yeah, but did you? So then you paired up with your business partners.
Yeah.
And they obviously had their own also Twitter pages.
Yeah.
What was the sort of like, because with business people that I speak to, there's usually like a plan in place, right? There's like we want to be at this stage, and it would take, this is how we're going to get there. But with you guys, did you have any sort of indication of where you wanted to take it?
Yes, we originally was naive. We thought, we've got all these pages. There's plenty of brands who'll want to advertise with us, because they want $1 million. We'll charge you. And as we spoke to different brands, we realised it's not as straightforward as that. But we were always really good at pivoting. So what we did was we created a website, and that was in the era of it's crass, but it was the clickbait era. Before all the fake news come out and all that. It was when you could have 50 adverts on a page, and it would be yielding on Google, and there was companies offering you those horrible links at the bottom. It's like 30 ways to lose weight and all those kind of links, and you click it. And so we originally made a website for that, and it was to use our sport following. It was articles that were things like top 10 footballers' cars and top 10 footballers' wives and stuff like that. And that was the day
a bit like BuzzFeed.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah, it was copying pretty much them to tailor to our audience. And we obviously did that for a spell, but we knew it couldn't last forever. Stuff like that. We knew that at some point time would move on, and at that point when Facebook again was starting to become like the meme heaven, and we thought with these sport pages, like mine was a parody of a football manager. Like, that's not long term. You can't do that for the rest of the time. We didn't know if it potentially were ever going to turn around with image rights and get, I don't know if you ever got sued for being a parody. I don't stuff like that. So that was when we aligned to make a general brand, so we could take the next step, and that was when we launched it. It's gone viral on Facebook and Twitter. And that allowed us just to initially make the memes and the GIFs and things like that, but it allowed us to use other people's viral clips with obviously permission and such. And it allowed us to do anything with a name like that.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. Like, so that's what year was this, by the way?
So that would have been 2016, moving into 2017, I believe. Yeah.
Why did you decide to transition to Facebook and not stay on Twitter?
I think Twitter had started to, even back then, had started to level out a little bit.
Yeah.
There was times when you could make new accounts, parodies, have 30, 40,000 followers overnight. We started to see that tail off a little bit. And I think they changed the system from retweets to likes being more powerful. So suddenly your content wasn't reaching as many people. And then it was when large players on Facebook, like your Lad Bibles, your Uni Lads, people like that, their pages were just rocketing on Facebook. And it was like, now's the time to do it, when they were already big, but there was space to still be there. Like if you was to launch a page now, it's a much slower grind.
Obviously we'll get into like what works now and like how you can do it now. But at that stage in time, I remember Lad Bible especially, like, and a lot of these other pages. I remember being like, when I first followed Lad Bible, it was actually quite like misogynistic at the beginning. But I mean, whatever. It's for them to deal with. But I remember at the beginning, like they exploded, and then I just thought they were like a meme page. But then, like as time went on, they became an actual like brand. And they hire people. They've got an office. Like it's an actual brand. So, like, how much money was in that space?
Well, yeah, it was a lot, and especially when we were, like I say, making money off the articles, which was okay, you know, from a website with adverts on. It was doing okay. It was paying up to. We had a writer, we had someone making the videos in between, 1 or 2 staff, and then I think Facebook got to a point where they followed within the YouTube trail of the. We got a message one day saying you can now monetize your videos.
This was 2017.
Yeah, I think the early players got access. We got it a little bit later, kind of 2018, maybe. Well, it must have been 2018 onwards. And at that point, when we started to see the returns, like you suddenly put out this longer video that had 2 or 3 adverts in, and if it went viral, and you see thousands of pounds come back, and it's like.
And bear in mind, like this wasn't even your video. It was like from someone else that you like obviously like got permission from. But they let you post it on your page.
Yeah.
That's just like mind blowing to me, because like for YouTube, right? Like it's all original content more or less. And if it's not, it usually gets copyright strikes. Right? Even if you've got permission. So with this, the reason why it just blows my mind is that people were making thousands of pounds per video, and it wasn't even their stuff.
I think with Facebook, they got wise to it, but a little bit later than probably expected. Because part of the It's Gone Viral network, we were also running a few comedy pages. And that was using, again, copyrighted stuff, but it was a bit. But we thought this won't last. But it took them a while, and then they introduced something called Rights Manager. But it was almost after the horse had bolted, and suddenly they were just clicking a button saying, go and claim every video on Fit, and it just exploded. Because as a creator, you could have this Rights Manager. It's like the same as the YouTube one, but Facebook introduced it after, like say, after the sea had opened. So
people had already made like a decent amount of money.
And there was no way of retrospectively taking that money back either. You'd got it, you'd banked it, you'd looked after it, and then there was Rights Manager, and then it was during the pandemic again. Facebook they hid a little bit behind. They started to call it limited originality. You have to start making your own content now. But it was in the March of the pandemic when the economy had exploded, so they took adverts off, and that was a few emergency board meetings on a Monday morning, like all remote working from home. But so then at that point is when we started to make our own content essentially.
Before that though, and like obviously you can give me brackets, not exact values, but like how much was the page and the pages you were managing sort of like making?
6 figures.
They're making 6 figures, what, like
a month?
A month,
in its peak, If you had one particular video as well, like one that'd be over 3-4 minutes long, and some of them when they go viral, Facebook had a watch system that if it had a good watch time, it would put it into people's recommended watch feed, so it just appear everywhere. If you had a video that got like 40-50 million views, you were just like quids in. And from a business point of view, you're using obviously video editors, either freelance or in-house, to make one video. You're paying them the flat fee. They was not on any kind of profit share, so the markup was insane. That's why so many like our company, like other companies, just exploded on. You can suddenly if we get 6 video editors, on X, and suddenly you're making XX, So it was a crazy time, and I say we had a 3-4 man office. Yeah, we'll get back onto that afterwards.
So 6 figures per month, was it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and it's obviously not initially, but I'd say at its peak before the pandemic, it was crazy like that.
And they weren't even your own content, it was just like through other people.
No, and
that's just mad to me.
And obviously the ways of getting around making stuff original is big in the industry, is having someone commentate on it. So if you've got a creator that, like those reaction videos where, again, it's ticking Facebook's boxes. Facebook said if you had a voiceover, if you had a commentator, if you had a summariser on there, it was classed as media, it's classed as journalism. And there was just so many different ways around it. And because Facebook/Meta are so it's hard to explain. Like the mafia is the wrong word, but you couldn't reach them sometimes, so you just have to guess and go for it. And if you ever did have an issue, they just reply and say, read the guidelines. So there was lines in the guidelines that how to make stuff journalistic. So that's what we did.
I just find that so mental. You can't do that these days though. Like you can't make that level of money from Facebook videos these days.
It definitely dipped when the economy dipped, and Facebook, especially Meta, is going through a bit of a weird time, isn't it, with all the staff layoffs and even when I kind of back end of my tenure at Comey, I think 3 partner managers had moved on, that kind of thing. So I can't speak now because I'm not under the hood anymore. But you see these pages now, you still see them getting healthy views. So what was
the sort of like the biggest video that you guys put out?
I think there was one on our page called Ultimate was toenails being from a pedicure company. It was ingrowing toenails being like picked out,
right?
And it was horrible. It was that gross, but its watch time, Peter say it was like a 3-4 minute video. On average, over a minute was watched by people. So it was like the grossness really worked, and that I think. Because one of the girls who did that video, she always took the crown as that was the biggest video Comey had.
How much would that video make? Like if that was that big, like how many views would it get?
I think that would add over 100 million.
Damn.
Yeah, which.
So how much would that 100 million views translate into?
I'm just I think 50, 60, 70k. You'd be. I think.
Just for one video.
Yeah, I might even have that wrong, but it's, But as the time goes by, and it can all depend on the CPMs, where because sometimes you can have a video do really well, but it will show in countries like the Philippines and things. They give you a really low advertising rate. But if your video bangs is the terminology of doing well in the UK or the US particularly, then the rates can go through the roof. So
because I remember like at that stage in time, a lot of people from YouTube were transitioning over to Facebook.
Yeah.
Because like they were being paid more, right? And then obviously they can like duplicate content as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of these like former YouTubers that had a pretty decent following, like I don't know, like Ben Francis for instance. I remember like he was like one of these big YouTubers before, but then didn't make any content. He literally, his page was just for Facebook videos.
Yeah.
And like Jackmate as well, similar thing. Like they were literally just Facebook videos of like repurposed stuff from like other meme pages.
Yeah, because a lot of them come from the Vine days. So they're obviously used to this 6-7 second footage, and then when Vine went, it was they tried Facebook, and Facebook was great, but you can't really monetize 7-8 seconds. So Comey did help a number of creators scale up that content. Well, you're a funny guy. How can you make that 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes? So that was another avenue of then you can take a revenue share on that, because then it's win-win. The creator gets their money, you get their money, Facebook gets theirs. So.
Yeah. What was the sort of scaling plan when it comes to the company, so the agency? So was it like just do more and more Facebook pages, or was it a case of like we've got one Facebook page, and like also how would you grow that Facebook page? Like, so what was the sort of like growth plan when you started?
Yes, I think from when we did It's Gone Viral, we then did like a lifestyle page, we did a dog page, we had a gaming page. Yeah, we wanted just to try and tick as many brands and genres as possible. And then we also knew that you can't all be Facebook dependent. So that was when we started to hire people to run Instagram initially. And then obviously TikTok came about after its move over from ByteDance. I think it was ByteDance. So then we hired TikTok. So up until when I exited, is your TikTok editors and your Instagram editors, they wouldn't be earning you any money per se, but they'd be help growing the brand for. because it's essentially what we did on Facebook as well. We, at one point, we were making all this content and it wasn't getting monetized, but the minute the green light went on for advertising, we were ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And that's the plan with Instagram, with TikTok, and Snapchat. Yeah.
So you sort of like sat down with your team, strategized different types of Facebook pages. So one dog, one gaming, and you just like had a list of these different things.
Yeah.
So you had that idea of different categories. What was the sort of like next step? So you started getting editors to edit sort of other people's videos within those categories,
yes.
and would just like post them.
Yeah. We had a number of, we trialed different names, different logos, and it was amazing. Like you could have 4 or 5 pages of the same thing, but one with a different name would suddenly have 10,000 followers. One would have 10 followers, and it was like A and B testing, really.
So you would have say maybe 2 different dog pages.
Yes,
the same videos, more or less.
Yeah.
But that's also crazy to me, how like easy that is.
Yeah, it was. I think nowadays I think TikTok's a little bit different. Even that's slowing down now. But Facebook now, if you make a page, I think you'd struggle. But I think all these social media platforms go through that phase of when it's brand new. If you get on it, you get a steal in the space kind of thing.
That's interesting. So say if you had a dog page that was like, I don't know, X amount of followers, you would use the same content but just grow another dog page.
Yeah.
So you basically have 2 dog pages that are the same, but like you want to maximize on the same content.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But I think once you see one doing well, you focus on that one.
Yeah.
So, and then just look at like, we had another one that we acquired that was like animal content, so there's a bit of a crossover there that can share that to help it grow kind of thing. So yeah.
That's crazy. So like how big did this get for you?
So I think the Facebook estate in all, like it's gone viral at the end was 10 million. Well, it still is. I say at the end. I mean, when I believe it was 10 million followers. The DIY, the lifestyle page was 1 mil, nearly 2. There was the feel good page was 2 millions when I say that.
Yeah.
And then the Instagrams they were smaller, but they were doing really well. And then they were using Snapchat to a lot of the footage that was viral on Facebook they could put into Snapchat, but Snapchat was highlighting in their series, so we didn't need the size on there. That was because the content already existed, and Snapchat would approve and disapprove things they wanted, and then that would show in there as well. So yeah.
But like, so you got to that stage, like, I feel like did you reach like a peak, or was it just like did you want to keep on growing? Like, what was the sort of like next step after that?
I think there is I'm talking purely from the media side of things.
Yeah.
So I think TikTok was the next thing to really tackle and get your new accounts growing on there.
This must have been around like pandemic time, right?
Yes. Yeah. But obviously on the side of that, there was two other arms to Comey. One was obviously a more like traditional digital media agency, so that was doing helping brands run their social medias, doing paid campaigns with them and such. And the other side was what we called the ARC, and that was all this viral footage that we found. You got to a point where there was bigger companies already doing it, your news flares, your Dukey Medias, people like that, but you can own that content.
Yeah.
So people were sending us stuff. I'd say 99% of it wasn't very good, because everyone thinks their dog's the funniest, everyone thinks their child's the funniest, but every now and again you'd get a gem. So it was just making money from that, rather than, can we use this, thanks, yeah.
No.
Yeah. So rather than thinking, can we use your footage, yeah, thanks, move on, it was, well, can we use your footage? Do you want to make some money? We'll make some money. And then, so from that, again, that was a whole department of salespeople and people to clear the rights, people to legally get it all binding. So there was thousands of videos on the ARC page, still is now. Because it's just a mad model, because especially during the pandemic, people were obviously making this viral footage, or stuff that was going viral, so to speak, but not making a penny from it. And some companies it was all about getting to that content first, essentially. And then if you're in a position where you can resell it to Sky News, to BBC, to The Telegraph, they pay £300-400 per video for their website, you can take 20%, the creator can get 20%. So like some of the big viral videos, if per person who licensed it correctly, they'd make a few £1,000s, which was good.
Wow. That's insane. That's insane. So, like, for you personally, when did you decide to leave this space?
So it was getting to, I think it was post-pandemic. I think we did over 80 employees, and we were talking about the next stage of growth, what was best for the company, and I think investment chats came up. How do we take that investment? And me and one of the other co-founders were happy at that point that if you need to do it, where we step away. Because I was happy with the size it had got to, and I was happy with the size it had got to, and the offer was the one I wanted, and allowed me to go on and start my next level of business. Because what I really did like at Call Me, before we were Call Me, It's Gone Viral. Call Me was created because we did 50 other things other than It's Gone Viral. But what I say when it was the It's Gone Viral days was we were based in a much smaller office, and 7 or 8 of us, and I was much more hands-on, and I loved that part of the business those years. And that's when it was like any small business, but because we scaled up so rapid, we moved into Manchester, and then the pandemic come, and we carried on growing, and I was just I was happy with the size it was at. It was moving on, and I still want them to do the best they can do, and that can be done with other hands and the extra help that they'll get. So
like for people listening now, so 2023, right, like just started, like when it comes to building these social pages for the monetary aspects, so not building their own like brand, so like, do you see that opportunity still there? Is the opportunity there to do that sort of thing, or is it like you've kind of alluded to it a bit, but it seems like that opportunity's gone?
I think on certain platforms, because I know TikTok is the one that's still growing, still going mad, and they have their creator fund.
There's not that much money though, is there?
No, the creator fund is people are working out what they get per views, and it's not a lot, but TikTok still at this moment doesn't have adverts in they're allowing long content on there. You can have 4, 5, 6 minute episodic content. Yeah. So I think within the next 6 to 12 months you'll start seeing mid-roll adverts, pre-roll adverts, and at that point, if people are aligned with their longer form content, they'll start earning well. I think, because I feel like TikTok they've got a plan, and I think they'll be the next. Snapchat, there's the potential to make money, but I think TikTok's the way to go. And the Instagram pages, there's still a lot of people who do a lot of meme stuff that they can engage with their audience with brand work, same with the influencers.
But it's all through like basically affiliate links and sponsorship stuff, right?
Yeah, and product placement,
but it's not as easy as like back when you were doing it, Facebook would just like advertise on it, and then they would just like pay you. So there's no real heavy lifting for you, right? No, you would just post it, and that's it. Whereas for these brands, they have to these pages right now, they have to either wait for brands to come to them, or they have to go to the brand directly, or they just sell their page and they make money that way. But it's not as easy as it was before. No,
it's not. But I suspect there's always going to be opportunities for those people who find them, if that makes sense. When you talk about launching a business, we never made a business plan. We never said we're going to do it. If we did have made a business plan, within 2 weeks we'd have been completely off book kind of thing. So it's not a traditional business in that sense, and I think that's one thing I'd like to talk about in the future is what business and business studies is kind of classed as, or what an entrepreneur is classed as, is crazy. It's like, I did business studies at school and I got a D, so by the letter of the law I should never be an entrepreneur, never should be a businessman. But it's because I think business studies can really lose like your GCSE students, your A-level students. It's too book heavy. They want you to, obviously within business, cash flow is important, your forecast, that is important, but it's not the be all and end all of. It can put people off. Like you kind of watch a Dragon's Den and they're going through the figures saying, in year 3 you said you're going to make X in December, and it's like, well, I don't know what we're going to make next week, so.
I mean, Dragon's Den also isn't that realistic, because I've had people on the podcast that have been on Dragon's Den, both haven't got investment and also have got investment, or they've been offered investment and then after the show they pull out. So I've heard it all really. And or they've been on Dragon's Den and they haven't even shown them on TV. Like I've heard every single story there is, and like it's not realistic because the actual pitch itself is like 2 hours, right? But they only show like 5 minutes max. So there's a lot of stuff that happens that they don't show. But obviously if the Dragon like if they want to focus on, you know, your financials are wrong, usually they're quite forgiving of that, right? Because when you actually like, if you've got the numbers in front of you, like you can just tell them. When you're actually pitching to an investor, like that's fine. But it's because like you're on TV, they like react in a certain way, and and they obviously only show the bits where they're angry, but in actual fact they're probably not that angry.
No, because I think a good forum for younger people is to be able to pitch their ideas and not worry about the figures or the forecasts or stuff like that. You know, that's a good idea. Then the more experts can help them scale up that kind of thing. Because it's again I know it's television, I know it's entertainment, but The Apprentice, that's what people see and that's what people think business is. And it's not like you see them doing a cooking task. Well, someone's got an idea for a product and they're not a chef, they don't go and then try and cook it. But but they're on that and they make a mess of it, and it's just like, you're rubbish, you're fired. And it's just like,
I've had a lot of people from Dragon's Den on the podcast. I've had maybe 2 people from The Apprentice on the podcast, and like I'm not really a fan of The Apprentice at all. Like I think that's even more unrealistic than Dragon's Den is. Dragon's Den, like a lot of them do end up becoming like, you know, some of them unicorns, right? Some of them are huge. Whereas The Apprentice just focuses on that individual. They don't really focus on their business ideas that much until the later stages, in which case like they only got there because of their individual sort of personality to a certain degree. And as well, you're right, like if it's a cooking task and their business plan is within fintechs, like it's not even relevant. You know what I mean? But they have to do it, and they might get fired because of that. It makes zero sense to me. But the dangerous part of this, and also combining it with school, is what you just said, is like it gives people a false perception of what entrepreneurship is, and that's why I started this podcast, and that's why I bring guests like you on to show them like what the real case is. You got a D in business studies, but then you built like Facebook pages and you made money through that. Like the opportunity's there for anyone. I know the Facebook days are probably over, but as you're saying, the opportunity still lies in other places.
Well, that's it. Like the next step, when I want to help people, mentor them, you know, speak to young people, it's not you must go and launch a social media business. It's any business, but but what is a business? The minute you're making money for something, that becomes a business. And just as well with some people as well, just because you've got an idea and it goes wrong the first time, it doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It might just mean you have to execute it in a different way or down a different avenue kind of thing. And it's like I see a lot of people, it's the hunger and the desire that's the key. Like they're not taking no for an answer, you know. I'm not saying you have to change the fundamentals of business, because fundamental business is making more than you spend. That's black and white. That you'll always need to teach accountancy and things like that. But I look at the way when the business got to a size, we had 3 or 4 people at that point. We used a third-party HR company. I didn't need to go and sit a 6-month-long HR module. We had someone to assist with that. Suddenly, when your invoicing starts getting 8 or 9 invoices a month, you bring in someone doing your books for 1 day a week. So there's ways you can use your network. So you don't need to be upskilled in every single bit of business. It's as long as you've got that drive and that idea. But I know, like, I reckon 90% of kids are sat there at entrepreneur. I reckon 90% of kids are sat there at business studies level going, oh, that business, I don't want to do all this. I don't want to set up spreadsheets all day. I don't want to look at graphs. And but that's not the reality. Like,
I mean, it can be if you're interested in that sort of thing.
Well, obviously,
but
of course,
it doesn't need to be, is what you're saying. 100%.
Sorry, of course, you need accountants, you need your...
But if that's like your expertise, then there are some businesses where you can be very numbers heavy. Like you can literally build a data business, right? Like very, very lucrative, but it's whatever you're kind of interested in. Like you were interested in meme Twitter pages within football, right? Like how niche do you want to go?
Because that's why from A-level I didn't go to university, because I'm not the most articulate with words. Like I didn't want to do big dissertations, I didn't want to do big essays, I didn't want, I'm a doer. So I did an apprenticeship within IT that was literally within a week I knew how to fix a computer, I knew how to fix a server, and I ended up getting a job working for a company doing that. And just because I was so hands-on, and it's within the tech space kind of thing. But just because I like to see myself as a doer, I don't stand still, I don't sit on my hands. I can't read a 1,000-word book on module kind of thing, but I learn, you learn on the job. And I just, like I say, I'm not fobbing off intellectual. I'm not like fobbing that side of it off, but it's not suited for everyone kind of thing. And there's people you'll be losing whose mind works like mine in that creative way, but not necessarily academically. They're the people I'd love to help, who've got this idea, but how do I execute it?
I mean, I know, like, with the Facebook, that phase, it was quite a short phase as well. Like, I know people, initially they might listen and think that you were lucky, but that, as you were saying, like, opportunities everywhere, and the ability to spot that is the skill. So even if, you started now, and that Facebook boom was over, like, there's other opportunities, as you were saying. So for like young people listening right now, what would you say is like the opportunities that they should look into? Within
like social media?
Within social media,
It's TikTok. I think it's...
what about like the other ones, like Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts?
Yeah, of course, yeah. With I think if you're into the gaming as well, like you're live streaming, that's still
like
Facebook.
Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch and YouTube, I think, are the ones now. Facebook gaming seems to be winding up. I don't think that's going to be around much longer. But yeah, it's and as you say, with the short form reels, it's kind of come full circle, because I mentioned Vine the other day, like before.
Yeah.
Mentioning Vine, they were 6-7 videos, and then everything went long form, and now it's coming back around with YouTube Shorts and TikTok, and so I think because there's still opportunities to grow Twitter pages as well, if you find that. I think what it is it's the niche. If it's something that's not being done, you will grow, but sometimes it's hard. There's more and more gets done, like, I think. So but no, it's hard to say exactly what it is, but if you...
But okay, let me ask it in a different way. How could they spot the opportunity then on social media? Like, what should they be looking for?
Again, something that doesn't exist, and kind of... I think one thing we always... Well, I say something that doesn't exist, it's hard, because what we were doing existed, if that makes sense. But it's spotting it that, oh, this is new. Oh, this is what people are doing. Saying copying sounds crass, but that's how people do spot opportunities. It's not always you're the only person to do it. It's an early adopter is quite key to that. If you think, well, this is the latest trend, well, if I jump on that, and then that's because I think, because like I say, the art of the parody was saying, oh, these parodies are funny. Can I ever go at that? And again, my advice is, like, I was unrelenting. Like, I just didn't stop. Like, say, to the point where I was doing too much, but that was just because I had that hunger, that desire just to keep going. And if you enjoy it as well, that's key. If you're not interested in it, don't bother, because you're never gonna. I'm lucky that, you say lucky, but is it luck? But it was something I enjoyed doing. That's what's key. And if you enjoy it, take it further. Like, if someone who's never picked up a phone, I'm not going to start running a Twitter account, because why would you? It don't interest you. So, because that's another thing. If there's something you like doing on social media, think, could this help me take the next step? Could I monetize what I'm doing here? So yeah.
I think that's definitely true. But yeah, the Facebook days are over, would you say?
For now, but it depends, because it depends where Mr. Zuckerberg and Meta go with all this. The VR stuff that he wants to launch. Like, is there going to be a space for potentially people to take opportunity with all the new Oculus goggles and all things like that? Could be some creative person who suddenly makes the first pub on Twitter. That the VR space isn't going to be going anywhere. Same with Twitter, with what Elon's plans are with it. With this Twitter Blue now, people can now have a blue tick if they pay. There's ways you can take advantage of that, because you get to the top of your mentions, and you can reply to people, you can grow that way. If Twitter Blue existed when we first started Twitter, it would have been mad, because we'd have been verifying parodies. We'd have probably tripled our growth kind of thing, because you could have got to the top of every mention kind of thing.
Or how can you use Twitter Blue now, like, to your advantage? Because again, that's very new, right? Like, so how can you use that to your advantage?
I think they have clamped down on the parodies and the fake pages having the blue ticks, but initially when it first come out, there was people changing the name to like basketball teams, and
I remember this,
Michael Jordan. Someone changed the name, but it blue ticked and was tweeting all sorts of rubbish. But Twitter Blue now just allows you to have a voice more. So you can be you. I've not got one, but I could buy a blue tick tomorrow now, which is mad.
It's like $8.
And then you could reply to Piers Morgan when he tweets, and you could controversial people, and to know that you're meant like.
Yeah.
So that's kind of way of growing, because I've noticed a lot of journalists do that now. They'll reply to people, and so you see their top reply, oh, who's this kind of thing. So I think that's the way to use it.
How can you? So you mentioned TikTok a few times. What would you say, like, should the strategy be on TikTok? Like, how much have you like kind of looked into it? Would you say it's like, because there's so many different ways of growing it, and the way that the profound thing of how you grew your page is like you were never personally on the page. But and I've seen a similar trend happen on TikTok where people take other people's videos and either do voiceovers, or they do like the sort of like robotic voiceover ones, or they do one frame of the meme, and then the other one was like someone playing a game or something. So like for people that are thinking of like innovative ways of growing a TikTok page within the meme sort of space, what have you seen that's worked really well?
I think you just said it exactly there. Those ones who they'll just talk over a popular clip and such. But I do think in the long run with TikTok, eventually, like Facebook did, they will clamp down on copyright, on duplicate content. So I think as much original as you, I think that's like I say, we ran faceless parody pages. I think those days are gone at the moment, but you never know. But I think everything's all about original, and TikTok do reward creators who it's them. But is there different ways in there? Maybe. Who knows?
So what's next for you? Because you've exited this business now. So what do you like? And obviously, like, inspiring young people is very important to you. So what's sort of like next step for you? What are you moving into? Social media? Moving to, like, I don't know, how you planning on inspiring the next generation? Yeah,
I'd like, obviously build my online presence and that, but I'd like to go speak to the relevant like classes, school level, college level, university level, things like that, and just pass my story on different parts of it, because obviously it's been like an 8-9 year business journey, so there's a lot to talk about within there. But before that, I left college, got an apprenticeship, got into IT, so there's stuff I can talk about outside of the social media space. It's just my career in general, and then potentially mentorship from there on, people doing more one-on-one things. So
all right, nice. Well, let's wrap up the podcast there. It was such a pleasure talking with you, and you've opened my eyes. Like, I knew that this was like a big thing a few years ago. I just didn't realize how much money was in it. It's crazy. And obviously, like, off the back of that like gold rush, I guess, like Lad Bible, other brands have become huge, and now obviously they're diversifying into different things. But obviously, like, it was injected from the cash that they made there. It's just it was insane. So you've completely opened my eyes into it. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How can people stay in touch with you and what you're doing?
I'm on Twitter a lot. Just me as a person now, and then my LinkedIn. I'm always quite active on there. So you can find me on there.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and I'm sure we'll chat very soon.
Thank you very much. Cheers.